So, welcome to week 2. This is my second blog for the Perfectly Imperfect Blogging Challenge. I'm sure I didn't say that right, but it's perfectly imperfect. So, I wanted to talk today about graceful confrontation. This week in the United States has been a really incredible week. And, people get very, very emotional and very intense when it comes to what they believe in and what they support. And there's been a lot of confrontation. And I have witnessed some very volatile, even violent confrontation, and I've witnessed some really incredible, graceful confrontation. And that's the conversations where people are talking about either their candidate or their issues or their beliefs or their values. And they're able to communicate with each other and still respect each other. They are mindful of their tone. They're mindful of how they say what they say. They're mindful of not being sarcastic or judgmental or belittling or demeaning because the other person doesn't believe the way that they believe. And one of the things that is so important to understand is that, the political arena right now, there's no mistake. There's no one in the world who isn't saying that it's a mess. It's a mess right now in the United States. And we've got a lot of situations that aren't ideal. And they haven't been for a long time. And it's a situation where we would all like to see things a certain way. But what I would recommend is to investigate and learn more and get yourself on board with what do you need to learn and know to really speak to a candidate, to an issue, to what's really going down. And I could get into many different topics on this, but I'm going to choose not to because that's not the point I'm trying to make as I share this. What I'm trying to say is that especially with the people that you love, be kind. They don't have to believe your same way. It is okay to live and let live. It is okay to graciously step back and either say, we're going to have to agree to disagree with that tone versus we just agree to disagree. Or you can simply just kind of get quiet and say, you're allowed your beliefs and you're allowed your thoughts and your feelings, and I love you and I honor them. And that beats the hell out of beating the hell out of somebody because they don't believe your way. And one of the things that this can apply to is not just the political arena. This can apply to anything that we agree upon or don't agree upon spiritually, fundamentally. How to raise a family, how to parent, how to educate, how to manage our work ethic or our business or our consciousness. There's so many areas where conflict can arise, but the most important thing is to honor one another, live and let live, and to move to a place of grace when you don't agree. It is okay to disagree. It is okay to even be angry about your opposing opinion or thought or factual data or whatever that may be. But it's not okay to hurt people. It's not okay to intentionally speak with malice, whether that's the tone of your voice, the projection of your words, or the words that you're choosing. So what I want to add as I share about all of this is that this has been probably one of my greatest messages for many years, and it is because it's one of the things I have worked on the hardest. I come from a very traumatic background. I had a really ugly temper. I had a terrible habit of, I don't like the way this feels, especially anger or hurt or rejection. So I'm going to mask that with alcohol, drugs, other bad behaviors, and I've worked hard and many years to walk differently and more healthily and to face my emotions in a way that is as gracious as possible. And I don't ace it. Nobody does, but I don't want to hurt anybody. If there's anything that I can say very, very clearly is I don't want to hurt anybody. And I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. And we don't have to hurt each other. So, as we have a discussion of something that is not on the same page, sometimes we have to discuss it and get all of our thoughts out into the open. Hopefully the other person will listen graciously. Hopefully we are capable of listening and really hearing them out graciously. And honestly, sometimes I think this is where text conversation can be helpful. You can't necessarily interrupt each other as easily over a text conversation or an email as you can in person. You can't necessarily let the heat rise as much. So for me, that's not so bad. But when we speak in person, we have to learn the discipline and the strength. And this is the point of this aspect of this vlog. It takes an awful lot of strength, first and foremost, to speak your truth. It takes a whole lot more strength to speak it with grace, to be mindful of a kind tone, to be mindful of not interrupting the other person and not getting angry because they've interrupted you, to honor that they have passion or a heavy, strong emotion about a specific issue. But we have to work at and practice at managing our emotions in a healthy way. And that includes any kind of confrontation or disagreement or just not being on the same page. So my point today is just to say practice that. Practice at being kind to one another even if you're angry, even if you disagree, even if you do not see eye to eye. And no matter how extreme your views might be on the opposing sides, be kind. And allow people their voice, allow people their opinion. And if you cannot do that, and I know that in some cases you cannot, I know in some cases I cannot, then at least graciously step away. I'm not a fan of just ignoring somebody and shutting them down and cutting them off or cutting them out of your life. I don't think that's right. I think that it takes a lot more courage to look somebody in the eye and say, this is going to be difficult, but I'm going to step back and I'm going to allow distance because this isn't healthy. I don't want to talk to each other this way. So you can step away from relationships or conversations that are not healthy. And you can also have conversations that are difficult until they finish. And one of the things that, I say this a lot in my own mind when I have a difficult issue that I'm not quite getting over as quickly as I'd like, or when I witness this with people that I work with, sometimes a conversation needs to continue. And it might need a little break for you to sleep on it and discuss it again the next day. Because I bet every single one of you watching this, if you've watched this far, recognizes that when you have an emotion about something and you're pretty heavily emoting, your emotions are going to change. And after some time, you're going to get more clarity. And you're going to shift your perspective on how you handled yourself, on what you said. I mean, how many of you have thought about an argument and then thought of something real great jab you wish you would have said, the next hour or 2 hours or 2 weeks later? Everybody does that. So be aware that in many cases, when you're heated, when you're feeling intense about something, your emotions and your thoughts are going to clarify over time, and you can continue the conversation. So that is also a really important aspect of graceful confrontation. Let me have some time to sit with this and process what we've discussed so far. And let's talk again tomorrow or next week and see how that makes you feel. It takes a lot of discipline to not have to slam your point home. But it's a beautiful discipline that's good for you as well as the person you're perhaps in conflict with. So I hope that this all made sense. I hope that it's helpful. As much as I've witnessed in the confrontations of this week, I so wish that there was more people being mindful of how they're using their tone, of what words they're choosing, of how they're walking. when it comes to these very strong opposing views, and that they're getting more information. So thank you for watching. If you haven't joined the Perfectly Imperfect 8-week vlog challenge, then feel free to check the link in this video. You'll see the link to it. I don't think you can join at this late stage in the game, but I'll bet you'll see some really cool vlogs if you follow the hashtag. So thank you again. I hope you're having a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.